Good morning. My name is Dondria. Thank you for joining the League of Women Voters, Oakland, and our community partners today, March 15th, for this candidate forum as a preparation for the April 2025 special election. We'll begin with an educational presentation on what will be on the special election ballot. The League of Women Voters is a grassroots, nonpartisan organization of women and men. The nonpartisan means we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. The League of Women Voters was founded in 1920, and our goal is to safeguard democracy and make it work by building a society of confident voters participating at all levels of government. We're happy to share that 2024 was the 100th year anniversary of the League of Women Voters Oakland. The League has two branches, education and advocacy, whose activities we keep separate. Our event today falls under the voter education work. We'll begin with a presentation on the only measure on the special election ballot, a proposed new tax. We'll then review how to use ranked choice voting and the 2 city office vacancies on the ballot. We'll take questions at the end of these presentations. First on the ballot is a measure for a new proposed tax. As a reminder, voting is not a test, and it's okay to leave blanks or to come back to the ballot after taking a break. Only vote for what's clear and important to you. As a general rule, the League recommends evaluating ballot measures by using the following questions. What does the measure do and why? What does it cost? How will it be paid for? Follow the money. Who's really behind it? And does it propose a simple or complex solution? Madeline?
Thank you, Dondria. Let's begin with Measure A, which is a proposed new local tax. To begin with some background information, Oakland projects a budget deficit of approximately $129 million in this fiscal year and a similarly large deficit in the next 2 fiscal years. Since Oakland must maintain and propose balanced budgets, the city is making cuts to staffing and services to balance this year's budget by the end of June. This measure was put on the ballot by the City Council of Oakland. What does it cost? Oakland City residents pay multiple taxes, including property and sales taxes. Currently, shoppers in Oakland now pay 10.25% in sales tax, which includes state sales taxes of 7.25% and Alameda County sales taxes of 3%. 6 cities in the East Bay have a total sales tax level equivalent to Oakland's current tax rate: Berkeley, Dublin, Fremont, Livermore, Piedmont, and Pleasanton. The new tax proposed will increase total sales tax by half a cent to 10.75% for 10 years. This would raise Oakland's tax rate to equivalent with the following cities: Union City, San Leandro, Newark, Hayward, Albany, and Alameda. As an example for how this general tax would work, if you buy a packet of detergent that is priced at $10 and this measure passes, you will pay 5 cents more. That is, you will pay $11.03. Your normal payment of that will now be $11.08. The amount that it will raise. It is projected to raise $29.8 million annually. So if the measure passes in April and it is implemented immediately, it was projected to raise $29.8 million after 1 year, so by May 2026. This tax is general, and the measure does not require the tax revenue be used to fund any particular programs or services. In other words, it is an unrestricted resource of revenue or a discretionary fund. The ballot measure will pass if it receives a simple majority of yes votes, that is, just over 50%. Now, in evaluating a ballot measure, as Dondria discussed, it's important to follow the money. Here you'll see listed those organizations that support and are funding the marketing and promotion of this tax to voters. The measure endorsers are listed as signatories in bold at the bottom of the right-hand side of your screen. These people need not offer any financial support to promote the measure. There are also folks who are listed as measure counter-endorsers, listed on the left. Now, what supporters say to support the measure is that given Oakland's critical financial situation, the tax increase is needed to help prevent further cuts in services. They also say that this tax increase would help Oakland broaden its tax base and support essential services. Opponents say, that is, those who are against the new local tax, Oaklanders should reject tax increases until the city earns voters' trust by first managing costs and budgeting responsibly. Oakland's total tax burden is too high, according to opponents, when all general and special taxes are considered. Finally, to be clear about what your vote means, a yes vote means that you support a new local tax of 0.5% for the next 10 years. A no vote means that you do not support or oppose a new local tax measure. Over to Dondria.
Next, we'll turn to the topic of ranked choice voting. Whether you're a fan of this method of election or not, it's the method that we currently use in Oakland to choose our political leaders. And as a reminder, this will be an informational presentation to educate voters. Let's begin with a little history. Oakland historically used a system that combined a primary and general education runoff. This system ensured that whoever was elected had a majority of people choosing them. Sometimes the candidates won in the primary election by receiving more than 50% of the vote. Why was the primary followed by a general election system concerning? First, the primary electorate was less representative of the population, typically whiter and older. Even when no one won more than 50% of the vote, non-traditional candidates were eliminated in the primary. Negative campaigning was growing to become a more significant part of the candidate's behavior. When a winner was chosen through a primary, it was a long time before the winner actually took office. At best, it was June to January, and sometimes March to January. The cost to the city of dual elections was also a concern, but a minor one. So, a coalition came together to support a change to ranked choice voting, the approach to election. The coalition's first goal was to find an alternative that would ensure that the elections would be decided by a more representative group of voters. A secondary goal was the coalition was especially interested in any change in an approach that might help reduce the trend toward increased negative campaigning. So what does ranked choice voting do? First, ranked choice voting is a system, First, the ranked choice voting system moved the entire election to November. So in other words, there's no primary, only a single election with a larger level of participation, a more representative group of voters. The ranked choice voting format of the ballot shows all the candidates. To use it, we mark our first, second, and third choices up to 5 choices. Select only one candidate per column. We highly recommend using a ruler or envelope or maybe even a piece of paper to cover the columns that you're not completing as you rank your preferred choices. This will protect your ballot from mistakes. As a reminder, there's no need to mark all 5 columns. There's lots of ways to think about this. I like the ice cream analogy. I'm going out for ice cream. What flavor would you like me to get you? Chocolate. If that isn't available, what's your next choice? Strawberry, then vanilla is my last choice. So where's ranked choice voting used? It's used all over the country, and it's used in many cities and some states. The green, purple, and teal indicate ranked choice voting is used statewide. 3 states use ranked choice voting in federal and statewide elections: Alaska, Maine, and Hawaii. Yellow indicates 15 states that either use or are scheduled to begin using ranked choice voting in local elections. And red means ranked choice voting is prohibited. Florida prohibits ranked choice voting in any election. Please turn your attention now to this explanatory video.
Ranked choice voting is an alternative way for citizens to vote for whom they would like to represent them in office. You pick your favorite, just like always. But then, if you want, you can also say, this is my second choice, my third choice, my fourth choice, and last, my least preferred choice. The polls close, and now all the first place votes are counted. Here, Ms. Yellow got a majority, that is, more than half, of the votes, and so she is the outright winner. There is no need to include any of the ballot's second choices. Hooray! But if, after first place votes are counted, none of the candidates has received a majority of the votes, then what do? We eliminate the candidate with the fewest votes, Mr. Green. This is where the second choices come in. The voters who chose Mr. Green first have their votes switched to their second choice candidates. So we add one vote for Ms. Yellow and one vote for Ms. Purple. The voters who chose Mr. Red, Ms. Purple, and Mr. Blue as their first choices still have their votes counted for those candidates. We rerun the totals, but still no candidate has a majority of the votes. Again, voters' second choices are relevant. The voters who chose Mr. Red first have their votes switched to their second choice candidates. So we add two votes for Ms. Yellow, one vote for Mr. Blue, and one vote for Ms. Purple. The number 2 labeling the figures in the bottom right indicate that the support they display now reflect those ballots' second choices. But still, no candidate has a majority of the votes. In this case, both voters' second and third choices are relevant. The voters who chose Mr. Blue as their first choice have their votes switched to their second choice candidates, so we add 3 votes for Ms. Yellow and 1 vote for Ms. Purple. But one voter chose Mr. Blue as their second choice, so that voter's support must move to their third choice, specifically a vote for Ms. Purple. The number 3 labeling the figure in the center indicates that the support it now displays reflects that voter's third choice. Now, Ms. Yellow has a majority of the votes, more than half of the votes, and therefore is winner. There is no need to include any further choices of the ballots. Hooray!
Takeaways from the video. Vote for up to 5 candidates. Vote for only 1 candidate in each column. You don't have to vote for 5 candidates. What happens if you don't vote for 5 candidates? If you don't vote for 5 candidates, and then if the candidate you vote for are eliminated before the final votes, your vote won't be a part of the final decision. It's an exhausted ballot. If you vote for more than 1 candidate in a column, your ballot won't be counted. It's an overvote or an invalid ballot. Strategy for the voters. First, vote with your heart. Who do you really love? Or at least who do you like the most? Second choice, vote with your head. If your first choice is eliminated, is there someone you still like? Then keep up that logic through your 3rd through 5th choices. And your 3rd through 5th choices, who would you be willing to live with or tolerate? In other words, don't select anyone that you can't accept or live with if they win. It doesn't help a candidate to choose them more than once or to choose them and no one else. In each round, your vote is counted only once. Madeline?
Our final topic for today's presentation on the ballot of this April special election is an overview of the vacant city officer positions. The results of the November 2024 local elections required that a special election occur. Specifically, Oakland voters chose to recall Mayor Sheng Tao before the end of her term and promoted City Council person Nikki Boss to a seat on the Alameda County Board of Supervisors. These results created 2 vacancies in city officer positions, the mayor of the City of Oakland and the City Council person representing District 2. Oakland voters must now choose who will fill these empty posts through voting in this April special election. Both contests will use the system of ranked choice voting we just reviewed. The position of mayor is a full-time job. We elect the mayor for a 4-year term, but that person can only serve for 2 terms. The mayor is the city CEO. In other words, that person is the executive branch of local government. They must be a resident of the city, a U.S. citizen, and an eligible voter to hold the post. Their job includes proposing a 2-year city budget to the City Council. They have responsibility for the delivery of city services through hiring the city administrator, in other words, the city's COO, or Chief Operating Officer, and they hire the city police chief in consultation with the Police Oversight Commission. The administrator is responsible for implementing the policies and priorities set by the mayor and the City Council in the final budget. The mayor is also responsible for delivering a State of the City report detailing the conditions of the city as well as that person's goals and recommendations for the city. The mayor is also the ceremonial head of the city, representing Oakland at a state and national level to lobby for our interests and submit grant applications. They write a first draft of the budget. They are responsible for proposing that to the City Council. What the mayor can't do is finalize or veto the city budget. They also cannot change the city charter. They cannot make resolutions, put new taxes or bonds on the ballot, and they also cannot hire city council members, the city auditor, the city attorney, or board of education members. We voters pick those leaders.
In closing, we'd like to remind you
the district council person is a part of the legislative branch of city government. So a city council person is a representative of their district within Oakland as a legislator. 8 members are elected from 7 geographic districts plus 1 at-large seat. A council person is elected to a 4-year term but can serve no more than 3 terms consecutively. They must be a resident of the city and their district, a U.S. citizen, and an eligible voter. The city council people elect a president from among themselves for a 2-year term that does not align with the terms of the city council members' own elections. They are responsible for making changes to the city budget and ultimately finalizing the city budget. If the city council's vote is tied, as there are 8 members, the mayor serves as a tie-breaking vote but does not sit on the council. The city council is also able to propose ballot measures that includes taxes or bonds and propose charter amendments. What they cannot do is hire the city police chief, hire the city attorney, the city auditor, or the city administrator. They do not hire Board of Education members, and they do not apply for grants on behalf of the city.
In closing, a reminder about the upcoming candidate forums. You can always go to the League's website at wvooakland.org. And there's a D2 voter candidate forum on Wednesday, March 19th at Lakeshore Avenue Baptist Church from 7 to 9 p.m. at 3534 Lakeshore Avenue. On Saturday, March 29th, the League of Women Voters and the Oakland Latino Chamber will hold a bilingual mayoral candidate forum at Juntos Fruitvale Cultural Arts Center at 3357 International Boulevard. This presentation and forum will be recorded for future viewing. The recordings will be available on the League website. Please visit our website for more voting resources at lwvooakland.org. Finally, please do consider becoming a member. We offer a sliding scale fee to support all budgets, and most importantly, it's a validation of our commitment to making democracy work for all. Thank you. If you have any questions, please make your way to the microphone near the front of the room. We have folks in the room that can help direct you to a microphone. Thank you.
.com and go to my blog, because you will see the correct information with regards to Measure A, which is the transaction and use tax. I filed 2 complaints, one with the Bar Association of the state of California against the city attorney, Ryan Richardson, because he has falsely misrepresented Measure A. So Google cleanoakland.com and it all comes up. The second complaint I filed was with the Public Ethics Commission. Again, he has misrepresented what the ballot measure is. Matter of fact, he has placed in the ballot.
Sir, could you please proceed to your question?
We're taking questions, so he would
Okay.
mind asking a question.
Okay.
And then we're going to
Okay, thank you. So, would you please tell me, the audience, what is the provision that is contained in the ballot measure 4.26.130? And if you don't know what it is, then I will explain, but I want you to comment on what that particular provision is in Measure A.
Thank you so much. We're going to have to get back to you on that question because we don't have the full text of the measure here in front of us, but we are committed to following up on every question that's asked today, and we will be sure to speak with you about those exact details. I want to make sure that we have time for all the questions because there are people lined up behind you, and we do have a hard stop for when the District 2 candidate forum needs to begin. So I will ask you to follow up with me after this presentation, and we'll be able to get into the specifics of your question about that submeasure, sir.
4.26.130 is the last provision in Measure A.
Thank you, sir.
Morning. Thank you for doing this. It's really great. My name is David Adams. I'm a league member and a voter in District 1, and not, unfortunately, a longtime Oaklander. Concerning the sales tax, the tax that's already in place seems extremely high and extremely regressive, and I understand that there's a huge deficit, and we need to deal with that. And I'm just wondering if there are other alternatives such as a city income tax that have been considered and rejected, and if so, why? It just seems like there should be an alternative. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. I believe that a number of tax fixes have been considered over the years, and you are right that there is quite a range of taxes already in place in Oakland. I applaud you as a new Oaklander for getting informed about all of the taxes we have, but I believe this represents the will of the City Council in terms of their proposed measure to resolve this current revenue shortfall.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Nelson. I live in District 1, longtime league member. And I have a question about ranked choice voting. And I know that many folks that I've spoken to find it confusing. So thank you for your presentation this morning, Deandra. And I'd like it if you could explain a little bit more why people shouldn't just vote for one person. Because I've had many people say, well, I don't want the other people. I only want to vote for that one. If you would explain that, please. Thank you.
Well, the initial idea around it was to make sure there was a run. It was sold as a runoff, an instant voter runoff. So it will give you a more representation of who's on the ballot. Making sure that you vote for more than just one person gives us a chance to, a little bit like they said, save money and allow other voters to be, other candidates to be included in the initial representation of the election or the candidates.
If I may add as well, Deandra, that was a wonderful explanation. Because of the way that rounds work in ranked choice voting, when you only vote for a single candidate, you potentially risk your ballot not being counted in subsequent rounds. And so the best way to ensure that you participate in the full process of electing any official is to make multiple choices so that each time that a candidate who is the lowest vote getter is eliminated, your vote continues to count and you continue to participate in each round of elimination as the lowest vote getters are removed in each round.
Hello, my name is President Christina Grappo. I'm one of the Oakland mayoral candidates, and my question is about ranked choice voting. What are the critiques of ranked choice voting? Like, why does Florida say no to it?
Thank you so much for your question. I can't speak to why that particular state is opposed to ranked choice voting, and I would definitely invite you to explore the variety of critiques that exist already in terms of the coverage online of ranked choice voting. I, at this point, am here to just offer clarification of how the system that we have works, because what we're not interested in is litigating the value of this process. We are simply trying to make it usable and make voters confident in their use of the existing system. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Nancy Morton, and I just wanted to comment on your representation of the tax. It might be more useful to give an example, not just on one item that's 3 cents, but an average annual expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you for that suggestion, and I'm sure we'll be able to include that in further coverage at the League website, which again, we invite you to go to for further information on the Measure A proposed local tax. Are there any further questions at this time?
Good morning. I'm Deborah Chaplin, District 2, and I'm just wondering, you said that the mayor can be reelected once, but given that they're starting in the middle of the term, can that mayor have 10 years, or can they just have one more reelection?
Thank you so much for that question. I'm so glad someone asked, because it justified me looking this up. Thank you. So my understanding is within the current city charter, you are only eligible to serve 2 terms, even if one of those terms is incomplete. Now, that's certainly something that can be revisited. There is a whole sort of sub-process around the number of days left in the term. And so again, I would love to follow up with you further to give you the exact city charter reference number, but hopefully that gives you at least an initial start of an answer. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Scott Loretz, and I thank you for the presentation on ranked choice voting. One thing I'm not clear on is, I'm clear that same person and 1, 2, 3, that doesn't do any good. But does it merely not do any good, or is it not valid and the vote, that ballot doesn't count at all? Thank you.
So great question. Thank you for asking it. It doesn't eliminate your ballot, so that is the good news. It is, but it does mean that if that one candidate you vote for is eliminated, you're not going to be part of the decision-making process. And it does somewhat confuse the registrar's Scantron system. So if you're concerned at all about that, we do not encourage you to vote for the same candidate across all cells, but it will not actually kick your ballot out of the counting process. Thank you.
Teresa Nelson, District 1, with a question about Measure A. On the summary that the League has provided, it notes that this would provide about $29 million after the first year. And you also noted what the deficit is of $129 million in the current budget cycle that ends this year, and an additional $280 million in the next 2 years after that. So my question is, if this $29 million, does that mean when it comes after the first year, does that mean it would start in July of 2025 or July of 2026? In which case, if it's the latter, it would not help with Oakland's budget deficit in the next year at all. If it's the former, then it would help. So if you could clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. The numbers are changing as our city council makes moves to try to address the shortfall before their end of June deadline. So these exact numbers are slightly in flux. There does remain a budget deficit for this year. And as I mentioned, if this tax were immediately implemented, if it were passed, it would raise that projected amount potentially only by near the end of the next fiscal year. Now, some of that, a portion that could be prorated, or another term you might use for estimating the quarter or so of time in the fiscal year that would occur before the end of this current fiscal year for the city of Oakland, might include, I'm not great at mental math, so somewhere less than $10 million generated by the end of this fiscal year. But you are correct in noting that the full amount would not be relevant revenue for the end of this fiscal year. Thank you. If there are no further questions, that's actually wonderful for our KTOP team to be able to set up for the next round of presentations, which will be a candidate forum for District 2. And we encourage you all to stick around for that. Thank you so much for your questions and for your wonderful, polite participation. We enjoyed speaking with you today and hope that you'll share this presentation with your friends in case they have questions about any of these issues.